In the ruthless kingdom of the musical spectacle, Lady Demi Lovato has just sealed her fate with a surprising marriage. After years of romantic battles, public betrayals, and broken engagements, she has finally united in matrimony with Sir Jordan Jutes Lutes, the outsider poet, who, unlike previous nobles, chose discretion over spectacle. But make no mistake, before this union, worthy of the oldest chronicles, Lady Demi endured the abandonment of Knight Sir Jonas, the toxic and endless love with Sir Wilmer Valderrama, the exposed farce of a whirlwind engagement to Sir Max Eric, and even dared to defy the court standards by engaging with Lady Lauren Aberdeen, confronting the rules of the musical empire. Today, you will uncover, without embellishment, every detail of this journey marked by desire, exposure, humiliation, and ultimately, redemption. This is Glass Throne, where the truth is sharper than the sword. Subscribe to the channel, leave your comment, and join the court. Who deserves to sit on the throne, and who should be exiled? Lady Demi Lovato was not born into nobility, but she was forged in the merciless fires of the Disney court, where young heirs and heiresses were trained to perform perfection while hiding their wounds. From an early age, Lady Demi mastered the art of spectacle, her voice powerful, her smile rehearsed, her spirit already fractured. At the peak of this manufactured innocence, she crossed paths with Sir Jonas, a princeling of the Jonas dynasty, beloved by the masses, praised by the artists, minstrels, and wrapped in the spotless silk of Disney-approved chastity. Their brief union, paraded before the public like a trophy of youthful virtue, was doomed from the start. The kingdom demanded an ideal, clean, pure, and marketable. But behind the court walls, it was chaos. Sir Jo, ever the noble performer, ended the alliance abruptly, severing the bond with a coldness that would be immortalized in song and rumor. Lady Demi was shattered. Her first public heartbreak wasn't private agony. It was public entertainment. The heralds, the bards, the tabloids, each took their turn at dissecting her pain, feeding the masses with every sordid detail. Sir Jo, for his part, moved on swiftly, as noblemen often do, without consequence. Lady Demi, however, descended into what the court would later call her darkest era, a spiral of rebellion, substance battles, and defiance against the very kingdom that once crowned her. But this was not yet her downfall. No, this was only the first scar, a reminder that in the empire of the musical spectacle, love is never just love. It is a transaction, a contract signed in public adoration and annulled in collective disgrace. Lady Demi's first royal romance had ended, but it birthed a more dangerous version of her, a woman disillusioned by the pretense of noble alliances, now aware that every suitor carried a dagger behind their back. Thus began the saga of Lady Demi Lovato, not as the innocent court maiden, but as a warrior, bloodied by betrayal, hardened by exposure, and destined for battles far more vicious than her heart's first fracture. After the public downfall with Sir Jonas, Lady Demi Lovato did not retreat into silent seclusion, as discreet court maidens often did. On the contrary, she rode headlong into a new bond, one heavier, longer, and infinitely more exhausting: her relationship with Sir Wilmer Valderrama. Sir Wilmer was no young princeling of the new generation, but a seasoned knight, already well-versed in the intrigues of the court and adept at navigating the silent maneuvers within the grand halls of the musical spectacle. He had a name, he had fame, and, most importantly, he knew precisely how to move among the vulnerable ladies of the kingdom. Lady Demi and Sir Wilmer forged an alliance that would last for 6 long winters and many summers of public separations and reconciliations. It was not a union defined by stability, nor by the virtues of courtly love. It was a game of power, emotional dependency, and unspoken contracts, fought not at the altar, but in the taverns and salons of the media aristocracy. The court watched, eyes ravenous at every movement of the pair, the passionate declarations, the sudden disappearances, the theatrical returns. Every appearance became a spectacle, every silence a rumor, Sir Wilmer, the veteran knight that he was, resisted the clamour to formalise the union. Lady Demi, still marked by the scars of her first romantic battle, remained bound to this alliance. That, though toxic, seemed to offer shelter, a fragile shelter, built more from memory than from any real future. Meanwhile, Lady Demi's internal battles grew more ferocious. The romance with Sir Wilmer was a rope that, instead of pulling her up, dragged her further down into the dungeons of her own vices and insecurities. But neither of them dared to sever that rope completely. The court, as ruthless as ever, transformed their relationship into a cyclical narrative of hope and disappointment. The people applauded their reconciliations and mourned their partings, but deep down, all knew there would be no happy ending. And so, for years, Lady Demi and Sir Wilmer remained tethered to an alliance that no longer served either of them. A bond stretched thin, exhausted, delaying only the inevitable, the definitive separation, and yet another scar for the warrior of the spectacle. No ballads were written to romanticize this tale. No statues were erected in their honor. Instead, their story served as a cold reminder to all who witnessed it. In the kingdom of the musical spectacle, love rarely survives the sharp blades of power, addiction, and the relentless hunger of the masses. After the drawn-out and exhausting end with Sir Wilmer Valderrama, Lady Demi Lovato did not rest among the ruins of her former castle. As is customary in the courts of the musical spectacle, new alliances emerge as swiftly as they are dissolved, and so Lady Demi began crossing paths with various knights, some with noble intentions, others merely in search of fleeting glory. Among the most notable was Sir Guilherme, also known as Guilherme Vasconcelos, a knight of the arenas, a professional fighter whose name echoed more in circles of physical challenges than in the arts of music. Lady Demi became involved with Sir Guilherme in a brief romance, eagerly consumed by the bards and scribes of the court, always hungry for new tales of passion and scandal. But, like so many hastily forged alliances, this one too could not withstand the weight of public exposure. The bond unravelled almost as quickly as it had formed, serving more as a transitional chapter in Lady Demi's saga than as a true union of souls. Soon after, another knight crossed her path. Sir Austin Wilson, an artist and model of bold postures, heir to a rebellious lineage within the visual arts. The romance, though brief, did not escape the kingdom's vigilant gaze. Every public appearance, every image captured by the spies of social networks was transformed into currency for speculation and judgment. And it did not stop there. Amid rumours and whispers in the digital taverns, other names were linked to Lady Demi, knights whose very existences were scarcely confirmed, but who nevertheless served as fuel for the court's relentless narratives. To some, these flirtations were seen as desperate attempts to fill the void left by Sir Wilmer. To others, they represented Lady Demi's quest for freedom, to break the chains of suffocating relationships. But the truth, as always within the court, was indifferent to judgment. What remained, in the end, was the record of these dangerous alliances, some real, others mere illusions sold by the heralds, and the trail of yet more scars accumulated on Lady Demi's body and memory. In the empire of spectacle, alliances are not sealed with trust, but with convenience. And Lady Demi, already a veteran, knew this well. Perhaps that is why none of these unions endured. Perhaps deep down, she already knew that in this kingdom, the quickest bonds are also the most fragile. The dangerous alliances dissolved one by one, and Lady Demi Lovato found herself, for the first time, without a knight by her side, without a fixed ally to share the anguishes that had long consumed her. The absence of romantic ties did not represent freedom, as many had predicted, but instead a silent and profound descent into internal battles that, until then, had been fought behind the court's walls. The definitive separation from Sir Wilmer Valderrama was not just the end of a long and toxic romance, but the collapse of an emotional pillar to which Lady Demi had clung, even knowing that its foundation was precarious. Alone, exposed, and without shields, she was forced to confront her most lethal enemies, the ones that resided within herself. She surprised the kingdom by announcing, with thunderous speed, her engagement to Sir Max Erich, a knight of modest origins, better known for minor roles within the spectacle. The union was whirlwind, sudden, almost theatrical. After only a few months of involvement, Sir Max knelt before the lady, offering her a ring that, more than a promise, seemed like a desperate symbol of stability and normalcy. The court, of course, wasted no time. Headlines, commentary, and speculation about the haste and the real intentions behind the gesture flooded the digital taverns. Lady Demi, perhaps seduced by the idea of finally achieving a traditional destiny, seemed ready to play this new role. The lady who had overcome her ghosts and was now, at last, walking toward a happy ending. But the tale collapsed as quickly as it had begun. Just months after the engagement announcement, the court's heralds revealed what would soon become the new scandal. Sir Max had been caught, in public records, lavishly praising other ladies of the court and, to many, showing a clear interest, more in the visibility the alliance provided than in Lady Demi herself. When the truth surfaced, Lady Demi abruptly ended the engagement, transforming what should have been a story of redemptive love into yet another chapter of public humiliation. Sir Max, in turn, reacted as so many opportunistic knights of the court do, with vague justifications, crossed accusations, and media appearances that did little to restore his honor. For Lady Demi, the episode was devastating, yet hardly surprising. Once again, her love life became spectacle. Her intimacy turned into plot, and her vulnerability fed the court's insatiable appetite. This whirlwind engagement was not merely the failure of a relationship, but the brutal confirmation of a rule that Lady Demi knew well. In the kingdom of the musical spectacle, rapid alliances almost always conceal even swifter farces. By closing this chapter, Lady Demi gained neither applause nor crowns. She gained another scar, another reminder that, in this empire, trust is an increasingly rare currency, and love, a game dangerously exposed to the judgment of the masses. After years of starring in media-driven romances, dramatic breakups, and broken engagements paraded in public squares, Lady Demi Lovato did the unthinkable. She entered a relationship quietly, without the usual spectacle, with Sir Jordan Jutes Lutes, a knight without ostentatious crests, no title forged by the great record houses or sung by the court's bards, an outsider, closer to poetic taverns than to the palaces of spectacle. They met in 1022, during the recording of the album Holy Fuck, when Sir Jordan was summoned as one of the scribes responsible for lyrics that sought to capture the rawest, most aggressive phase of Lady Demi's musical trajectory. It was backstage, far from the inquisitive eyes of the court, that their bond was forged. Not through contracts, but through real affinities. Both shared a history of battles against addiction, depression, and the emotional toll that the empire of spectacle imposes on those who dare to resist. While Lady Demi was consolidating herself as a figure increasingly detached from the old alliances forged in the pop court, Sir Jordan, with his aversion to exposure, became the opposite of all the previous knights she had once embraced. He did not seek the limelight, nor did he use the romance as a platform to elevate his own career. On the contrary, he maintained a modest path, working as an independent songwriter and artist, detached from the media frenzy. The relationship was only made public when both decided spontaneously to share images together in the digital taverns, like Instagram, in completely ordinary moments, birthdays, trips, anonymous outings. There were no bombastic announcements, nor the typical Noble magazine photo spreads. The absence of theatricality, paradoxically, made a greater impact than previous alliances. After all, Lady Demi, until then known for romances as public as they were tempestuous, now seemed to have found a completely different narrative. Throughout 1023 and 1024, the relationship solidified, with Sir Jordan accompanying Lady Demi on tours, award shows and events, always backstage, never seeking the spotlight. When asked, he answered directly, without embellishment, highlighting mutual support and admiration for Lady Demi's strength and journey, yet always refusing to participate in the media spectacle. In January 1025, Lady Demi and Sir Jordan surprised. Again, they married in a private ceremony in California, surrounded only by close family and friends. There was no press coverage, no leaked photos, just a brief statement confirming the union and ending all speculation about the current state of their relationship. The court, accustomed to grand spectacles and dramatic endings, found itself facing a sober chapter, without the classic plot of tragedy or public redemption. A marriage that, so far, has resisted the usual impulse to turn every detail into a headline. But, as always, the questions remain. Is this finally the lasting union that Lady Demi sought in so many past alliances? Or just another brief chapter, quietly closed when the novelty cycle fades? For now, Sir Jordan remains by Lady Demi's side, not as a knight seeking prestige, but as someone sharing a real journey, far from the need for the court's approval. And Lady Demi, marked by scars and battles, seems, for the first time, comfortable leaving her personal life away from the center of the arena. Whether this union will withstand the merciless winds of the musical spectacle's kingdom, only time will tell. This was another episode of Glass Throne, where stories are told without filters, without flattery, and with the coldness that spectacle demands. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chronicles, and leave your comment.